Hi, everybody at home. This is Miss Elizabeth, your virtual math club leader, and I'm glad that you're here today with me. I'm hoping that, I noticed, I looked at one of the videos because of course, we're making this and I can't always see what you can see while we're doing it, and I realized that holding up the paper, you can't see what I'm pointing to. So I'm not going to hold up the paper, but you should have in front of you the M&M's paper, because today we're going to be doing something with M&Ms. And here's the thing, you also need a bag of M&Ms, or you could have a bag of Skittles, or something along those lines. Any kind of hard, multicolored candy. Now, you're gonna laugh at me maybe, but I happen to have outdated Christmas M&Ms. So guess what? I'm only gonna have two colors, but that's okay. You're gonna do what you have at home, and then we'll figure it out. All right, before we go and do our project though, I'm going to recommend two books and we're going to look at them. The first one is Great Estimations by Bruce Goldstone. So let's talk a little bit about this one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we'll get started. All right, here's a picture. And it says in this, about how many people are in this pool? Don't count, estimate. An estimate is a good guess. So do you see more than 3 people? Fewer than 8 million? These are both estimates, but they're not very accurate. A great estimate is close to the real number. You can train your eyes and your mind to help you make really great estimations. Estimating can help you get used to working with big numbers. It can help you recognize numbers around you. How many kids are in a marching band? How many whiskers does a cat have? How many windows are in your school building or in your home? Practice will help you improve your estimates. Turn the page to get started. So this book is going to have a lot of photos in it, and then they're going to ask you to get an estimate. So one of the things that I do when I'm not doing math club is that I count birds for the Audubon Society and for the Great Christmas Bird Count. So one of the things that we have to do is when we go out in the field, we have to be able to kind of look at, well, there's only 1 or 2 birds, that's easy, but sometimes you have a whole flock of birds. And what you have to do is you have to kind of look at them and kind of go, okay, that's about 10, there's another 20. So what am I doing? I'm skip counting by 10. And the other thing I might do is maybe look in groups of 5. So one of the things that we've been doing in Math Club is we learned how to do skip counting by 5 and making a tally mark. We learned then how to count by tens. And so when we're estimating, we kind of want to get our eyes used to grouping. So in this picture, you can see up here, they say this is what 10 cherries looks like. And then they have a picture down here, and they're asking you to estimate about how many cherries there are. So what you want to do is you want to kind of eyeball this and think like, oh, look, maybe this is about 10, and that's another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-ish maybe. So if we look at that, we can kind of estimate about how many there are. Well, I didn't do a very good job estimating because if you can read that, it actually says 100 cherries, but you get the idea. All right, so that's one thing we're going to be working on when we do the M&Ms. Another thing that I want us to look at is this book called Multiplying Menace, The Revenge of Rumpelstiltskin. It's a part of the series, A Math Adventure. There are a number of books in this series. Some are by Cynthia Newswander, and she does all of the circumference books. This one is kind of along the same lines. So let's look at this one. The castle was full of guests celebrating Peter's 10th birthday. You have one gift left, said his mother, the queen. A big, bouncy puppy ran out and licked Peter's face. This is the best birthday ever, Peter said, as he ran his fingers over the dog's soft fur. Just then, down the stairs came a thunderous rumbling and a cloud of smoke. Peter watched as the smoke cleared. There stood a strange little man who said to him in a high, squeaky voice, I have come for you. Go away, the queen gasped. I said your name 10 years ago, and I will say it again. Rumpelstiltskin.
You can't get rid of me so easily this time.
10 years ago, I turned your worthless straw into gold. Now I demand what you owe me. Guards, the king ordered. 10 guards rushed forward. Rumpelstiltskin pointed his walking stick at them and muttered some words. There was a sudden flash, and 8 guards disappeared. Only their hats remained. By tomorrow you will see that the only way to save your kingdom is to give me the boy, the little man cackled, and then he was gone. The celebration continued, but no one laughed or smiled. Even Peter's puppy seemed to know that something was wrong. That night, strange things happened. The baker woke to find hundreds of mice in his flour bins. Ugh. A milkmaid found only 4 cows where there should have been 20. All across the kingdom, farm animals had disappeared, while insects and other pests had appeared in great numbers. News of the strange events made their way to the castle. What should we do? The king asked his advisors. Before they could answer, Rumpelstiltskin appeared. He slyly pointed his stick at a castle wall. Stones times 1/3, he said. The wall was suddenly full of holes. Give me the boy, or I'll do worse. Leave at once, the king demanded. Rumpelstiltskin pointed at the king. Nose times 6, he said. It can't be, the king sputtered. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. But it was. What do you see? The king had 6 noses. Rumpelstiltskin warned, everyone here will have 6 noses if the boy doesn't come with me. Peter said, I'll go with you if you fix my father's nose and put everything back the way it was. I will, Rumpelstiltskin replied. No, wait, the queen cried, but it was too late. Peter and Rumpelstiltskin were gone. Peter found himself standing in front of a crooked hut. Will you fix my father's nose now? He asked. Ah, the little man replied. I never said I would do it right away. First, you must work to repay what your family owes me. Rumpelstiltskin went into the hut and lit a candle. Peter saw a shadowy creature scurry into the corners. The flame barely cut through the darkness. Rumpelstiltskin pointed his walking stick at the candle and said, Candle times 8, and the glow of 8 candles brightened the room. How did you do that? Peter asked. This is no concern of yours, the little man said. Now go gather some firewood. Peter collected an armful of dry wood from the surrounding forest. Rumpelstiltskin put 4 branches in the fireplace. Branches times 10, he said, pointing his walking stick, and he made a fire with the 40 branches that appeared. I wonder what's happening here. In the firelight, Peter spotted 2 tiny meat pies. His stomach rumbled. Rumpelstiltskin pointed his stick at the pies and said, Pie times 5, and 10 pies appeared on the table. Rumpelstiltskin gobbled 6 of the pies as Peter watched. Peter reached for a pie and felt the stick thump the back of his hand. I'm saving those for later, Rumpelstiltskin said. Now sweep the floor and do it quietly. I'm going to sleep. Soon the sound of snoring filled the room. Peter swept the floor, inching closer and closer to the small bed. When he was right next to the bed, Peter gently tried to slide the stick from the sleeping man's grasp. It wouldn't budge. Peter plucked a feather from Rumpelstiltskin's cap and flicked it under the sleeping man's nose. Rumpelstiltskin let go of the stick to brush the feather away, and Peter grabbed the stick and put the broom in its place. Peter looked at the walking stick. How does he use this, he thought. As if in answer, Peter's stomach growled with hunger. He pointed the stick at the 4 pies and whispered, Pies times 5. Nothing happened. Peter tried again, this time mimicking Rumpelstiltskin's squeaky voice. The pies just sat there. Then he tried waving the stick like Rumpelstiltskin did. Still the number of pies did not change. Peter examined the stick carefully. This X carved into the end might mean something. He pointed the X at the pies and said, pies times 5. 20 pies appeared. Woo, look at that. It worked, Peter whispered. He quickly ate 8 pies and could not eat any more. If Rumpelstiltskin sees all of those pies, he'll know I used his stick. There are 12 pies, Peter thought, but there should be only 4. 4 pies is 1/3 of 12. So Peter pointed the stick. Pies times 1/3, he said, and instantly the 12 pies became 4. Yes, Peter exclaimed, maybe now I can fix my father's nose and all the other awful things Rumpelstiltskin has done. All right, well, there's more to the book, so if you want to get it, check it out at your library. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to get our M&Ms out, and it says, first of all, guess how many M&Ms are in one scoop. Now, this is what we do at the library, but maybe at home you have a whole little bag, a little snack-sized bag, or maybe like me, you have some a box of M&Ms, or maybe, your mom bought a gigantic bag, and maybe she's going to give you just a little measuring cup. So the thing that you should do is count how many M&Ms are in your scoop. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some in my hand. So that's my scoop, and I'm going to put them right here. Okay, so I'm going to guess how many I have there. And I'm going to say, I think I have 25. So I would write down my estimate is 25. So when you guess, that's kind of an estimate if you're kind of thinking about it. So now I'm going to count them, and I'm going to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6. Hey, I did a pretty good job. I said there were 25 and there were actually 26. So, good for me. Good estimating. How did you do? Now, that's what question number 3 asks. How far off was your guess? So what do? We take your estimate and we take the actual numbers in your scoop. You take the larger number and then you subtract the smaller number. So in my case, I guessed 25, that's smaller than 26, and I say 26 minus 25 is 1. So I was only off by 1. How far off were you? Now, we're going to put M&Ms into the sets by color. Well, mine's really easy because I happen to have Christmas M&Ms. Yeah, I know. It's June, and these are from Christmas. I'm not going to eat them, but I am going to do math with them. So look, I'm putting my green M&Ms all together, and I put my red M&Ms together. So I have 20 green M&Ms, and I have 6 red M&Ms. You hopefully bought the M&Ms that have more colors, and you'll be able to write down the number of M&Ms in each of your sets. In number 6, you'll see that it says use greater than, less than, or equal to show the relationship between these sets. Now, some of you at home may not know what those symbols mean, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how I think about less than, greater than, and equal I think is the easy one, because equal looks like these 2 lines like this. It's like same, same. Like this is the same as that. The greater than and equal to signs for some people are hard to remember which one says greater than and which one says less than. And if you're anything like me, and my kids who know me know that I have a hard time sometimes with left versus right. So the way I look at it as when I look at the symbol and it looks a little bit like a V, like this, the pointy part is smaller than the open part. Now, I know some people like to talk about the alligator eating the bigger number, and if that works for you, great. I like to think about it points to the little guy. Like, that's the little guy. Okay? So however you want to think about it, the bigger number is over where the bigger side is, and the smaller number is being pointed to. So if we have it this way, the bigger number would be on this side, and the smaller number would be being pointed to. So if you don't want to say less than or greater than, that's okay, because you can just look at and say, oh yeah, the bigger number's first, and we know that says greater than. If the smaller number's first, then we know it's less than. So that's just one way to think about it. So you can use number 6, use those symbols, and we abbreviated the colors by using the first letter. So that's also good. You can learn how, if you're really young, you can learn about your letters. Number 7 says do these problems. So what does that mean? It just means take the number of what you have. So in my case, I would have just green and red. Well, that's not very exciting. So I would find the one that says, I don't even think I have a G plus R. Well, oh yes I do, R plus G. So I would write 6 plus 20 and I would get 26. Hopefully you have more and you can do all those problems. Now, number 8 bumps it up. So for you older kids, this is asking about fractions. And let me explain how we do the fractions. So if you watch some of the earlier videos, you know that we have a top number, which is the numerator, and a bottom number, which is the denominator. If you don't remember what these are, you can go back and watch the video about Hershey's fractions, where I explained what a numerator is and what a denominator is. The denominator is going to be the answer to number 2, the total number of actual M&Ms here. So in my case, that would be 26. It would have been nice if it was 25, because that's a much easier denominator to work with. So in this case, what I would say is I have 20 green out of 26 total. So my fraction for green would be 20 out of 26. Now, if you remember from the Hershey's fractions, we can simplify that or reduce that. 20 is an even number, so we can cut it in half. And when I cut that in half, I get 10. So here, you can't see what I'm doing here. This is my 10 right here. And then I have 10 over here. If I cut my reds in half, 6 and 6, so I would have 13 here. So this is 10 out of 13. So that's a simple way to do it with the M&Ms actually in front of you, or you could do the math and do division. So if you're younger and that's hard for you, maybe mom and dad or dad can help you with that, or an older sibling can help you with that. In number 9, it says, put 15 M&Ms in a pile in front of you and use them to do these problems. So that's just, I think, pretty self-explanatory. And then the last things ask you about graphing. You can either create a tally chart, a pictograph, or a bar graph. And on the back, it gives you some places to do either a tally chart, a pictograph, which is like you can make a bar graph. All right, so that's what we're going to do for the M&Ms, and we will take a little pause here and get ready for our puzzler. Hi, okay, so here's the answer to last week's puzzler. So last week we had 8 coins in a row. I used 8 pennies, and the problem said that you had to do 4 jumps, and you had to jump over 2 coins at a time and leave 4 stacks of 2 pennies apiece. So basically what we're saying is you have to jump over 2 coins whenever you do a jump. That would be 1 move, and you have to do that 4 times and end up with 4 stacks of 2. All right, so if you weren't here last week, that's the puzzler. If you don't want to know the answer, quit watching right now and then go try it, and then you can come back. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Here's the answer to this problem. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to move, if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, coin number 4, I'm going to jump over these 2 coins and land on coin number 7, like that. Okay? Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this coin and jump over these 2 coins and land on coin number 2. So jump over 2 coins and land there. That's my second move. Now, I'm going to move coin number 1, which is right here, and jump over this stack of 2 coins. Ah, tricky, tricky, and land on coin number 3. And then this coin over here, I'm going to jump over this stack of 2 coins and land right there. And that's my 4th move. So I jumped 4 times over 2 coins each time and ended up with 4 stacks of 2 coins. So if you didn't see exactly what I did, you can always rewind and check it out again. These little puzzlers are really great because you can stump your grandparents, your parents, your babysitter, or your older siblings and see how that works out for you.